Hi, everyone. Welcome to Cube Reviews, episode 33. This is your host, Ian Braverman. I hope you're having a great day. Today, I am joined by two very special guests that I'm super excited for, Beezy and Mia of the Nitpicking Nerds. How you doing?
Well, we're doing great.
Yeah, we're having a great day so far. What about you?
Oh, I'm doing very good. I was just hanging out with my bird before this, put him to sleep, and now ready to talk about some Cube and kind of Commander.
We play a fair amount of Cube, surprisingly. So,
I love Cube. I don't think I say it a lot, but I'm definitely like a Cube fiend.
so we're
behind the
excited to
scenes.
be able to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk with you about it. Everyone can finally get a chance to hear about your Cube content. So that's very exciting. And we met at Boston Cube Party. It was super cool meeting you, getting to talk a little bit of Cube. How did you like the event?
It was great. We actually got recommended it by Gavin Verhey. He said, I'm going to try and get up there because it's so awesome. I've heard great things about it. And we're like, wow, we live pretty close. We should try and get tickets. We got put on the wait list, but I'm so happy we were able to sneak in.
Yeah, I feel like we got in pretty easily, even though we were on the wait list. And it was very well run. I thought I had a great time and a lot of crazy cubes. And the fact that you got to choose sort of the cubes you prefer to play with or not with led to less feel bads.
Yeah, I really wish I got to play with a couple. I know you snuck into the 100 Ornithopters one, and that
Oh,
was
yeah.
one I was dying to play, and I didn't get a chance to.
It was super cool.
That Cube had such a big wait list. I wanted to do it. I had it as my number one every draft. But that Cube, I think everyone had it as their number one.
Yeah,
I
he's
got
just
lucky.
snuck in.
Got
First
lucky.
one, he's like, oh, 100 Ornithopters,
I
crazy.
think I will draft this.
Yeah, definitely. And do you plan on going to other Cube events? Like there are a lot in the New England area. I've been to Cube for a Cause in Brooklyn and also Boston Cube Party, of course. There's going to be one in New Jersey coming up too. There's a
I
lot of
don't,
Cube events.
I don't think we're that knowledgeable about the Cube events, so I think we'll have to look into it. We are moving to Colorado pretty soon, so we do have to keep that in mind. We won't be in New England too much longer.
Super
Oh.
open to it. Like if it lines up, I'll
Yes.
100,000% be there.
We might try and get out to CubeCon, though. We've heard great things about it.
Oh, CubeCon is amazing. I've been there 2 years now and had one of my cubes featured one year. It's
Wow.
so fun.
Which
Yeah.
one?
My peasant cube in 2022. That cube I haven't updated as much over the last couple of years. It was so fun to have a cube in the event.
That's awesome. I would love, I mean, down the road, I could see myself trying to submit some cubes.
Yeah, we'll definitely try and get out there. I just know it fills up so quickly. And everyone's like, keep an eye out on it because tickets will be gone before you know it.
Oh, I think they would be able to get you in. They would love
I'll
to have
try.
Nitpicking Nerds there, I bet.
Like, please, pretty please.
And I didn't realize that, Beezy, you have so many cubes on Cube Cobra.
A lot of them are purely theoretical. I think it's like one of my Zen activities to just sort of like play around with stuff. It's like doing a puzzle, kind of. That's how I put it. And some of them I don't care to finish or build. I delete them regularly because it's like I have exhausted my own, interest with this. It's sort of like I completed my own task. Even though the cube's not done, I'm like, I've thought about this sufficiently, so I'm done now.
It's like theoretical cubing. It's like, I've played this 10 times in my head. I'm good now.
It looks sound to me. Delete.
And you also just like will put cards aside and he's like, this is a cube card. As long as it's not a commander card, he'll be like, this is a cube card. And we just have a big old stack on like our dining room table
Yeah.
and it's just cube cards, but they're like theoretical cube
Yeah,
cards.
like just in case. It seems like a cube level card. I very much prefer lower power cubes, I think. Closer to like a booster draft or a master set versus like vintage cube. I'm not too interested. I'll play it. Like if someone comes up and says, hey, you want to draft my vintage cube? I'll do it, but it's not my favorite.
No, I completely agree. I think that the lower powered is where it's at. There's the power band is so narrow, and the fact that it's just you can get really wacky with it. I don't really care to draft Black Lotus, but we did the Hoopin' one and it was amazing. Spicy Ramen, also big fan of that from the Boston Cube Party.
Oh yeah, spicy ramen is great. One of my friends in my play group actually cloned that down. We played it a bunch of times. I love those like lower power, mid power cubes. One of my favorite things to do to build a cube is I just have like my boxes and boxes and boxes of bulk, and I'll just like look through cards and be inspired by something.
Yeah.
And like this card makes me really happy. I wish I could play it more. That's where a lot of it comes from.
Yeah, I think that's what you're doing with your Turbo Trash one?
Oh yeah, Turbo Trash in the works. Because I saw actually from Dawson Cube Party the Turbo Cube. And I
Yeah.
was like, this looks really fun. The premise looks really fun. And then I was like looking at the cube, I was like, this is busted. And that's totally cool. That's a different way. But I was like, well, what if I actually just played like the worst cards? And then instead of taking middle cards to busted, and they're all Black Lotus, you take trash to, oh, this is like a functional magic card now that it costs 2 less.
Yeah, a 5 drop, that's pretty okay for this effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been a long time listener of your YouTube channel and YouTube content back when it was hosted by Joe and Beezy, and it's also been great with you, Mia. Also, tell me about the YouTube channel.
It's been going good. I mean, there was a little bit of like nerves when you switched on, but I think you nailed it, and now we're
Yeah.
just kind of cruising.
I think we are in an awesome place. We're very lucky to be able to say that we're ambassadors for Final Fantasy, so we have a good working relation there. And we're also really excited to be able to do gameplay. We didn't think it was possible, but being able to do spell table gameplay, it really brings that little extra something that we were looking for.
Yeah, I really wanted to be able to play more. We had done gameplay in the past, and then it had to stop, and now we're back, and it feels really good.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes it's very tough to be able to work playing Commander into your schedule because, as with everything with adults, it's hard to get four people in a room, much less eight or, an entire group of people. And so sometimes we falter a little bit when it comes to playing Commander, actually.
Yeah, I think we need to play more than we do.
Yeah, but this is a really good excuse to like try out new brews, check some awesome tech and maybe see what other people are playing too.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And with Cube, it's so hard to get 8 people in a room sometimes.
Hmm.
I feel very lucky. Every week we draft at my local game store and Games IRL in Avon, Connecticut. If you happen to be in the area, come check it out. But it's hard to get 8 people in a room. I totally get it.
Yeah, that is actually one thing I'm grateful for with my Commander Cube or our Commander Cube is I think we've drafted it like well over 100 times just because we used to have a weekly draft group. And whenever there was a set that we didn't like, that just didn't land super well, we're like, well, we'll just cube. For the rest of this set's legality, instead of drafting, I don't know. I can't even remember what sets came out. Maybe like Crimson Vow was pretty lukewarm. I remember that set being super bomb heavy.
It was
It's like,
fun.
oh, for half of the time, we'll just draft cube every week. And then we always had 8 people. So it was like 2 pods firing every time.
Yeah, I feel like the toughness of getting 8 people in a room is what maybe inspired you to do your 1v1 cube. It is way easier
Yeah,
to
because I think
find myself and you.
I always have a person in the room we can play one with you with.
Absolutely. That's super cool. And tell me about both of your history with Magic and Cube. Like, when did you start playing Cube? Did you originally start with Commander? What other formats have you played?
Oh, okay. I started with kitchen table magic. I basically told someone that I knew, I was like, I'm never getting into magic. Why would I sit down in a basement all day with, four other people and just like play or, 20 other people if you're doing like an F&M and it's like, and just sit down and not move and just touch cardboard that is really way too expensive. But then I don't think you were there at UConn. Do you remember Friendly Fire?
Yes, Friendly Fire
Okay, Friendly
games.
Fire closed down, and
Yep.
I walked in and I went, all right, if you're going to get me into Magic, you're going to do it right now because they had a bunch of Magic stuff in the back of this LAN cafe, and they were all closing down. It was just a bunch of boxes just to sort through and all this stuff. And so I got put together an elf deck. And then after that, I was like on and off of just 1v1 Magic for a really long time. But then I got into Commander when Edgar Markov Precon came out in 2017.
And how about you,
For me,
Busy?
for me, I started when I was 12, and my parents let me go into this like dingy basement LGS for some reason. I have no idea why, but thank God because I got super attached to Magic. Just never stopped playing it since then. I got into Commander. It's been so long, but I think it was right around when the first precons came out because Carador's my boy.
2011?
I think it was 2011, 2012. Because I remember seeing Carador like in a trade binder and it was like brand new. And I was like, this seems like my business.
Junk? Is
Is
this
this what
for
I'm
me?
gonna play? This is what I'm gonna build for the rest of eternity. I have like 4 Carador decks right now.
No, that's how I felt. I saw Kalia in a trade shop window, and I'm like, this is my dream commander. If I ever get to build this, that would be awesome. But she was $35 at the time because she was only printed in the Commander anthology and her precon.
Mhm.
So I was like, I'm never going to spend that much on a card. And I guess look at me now.
Wah, wah.
Yeah, things have changed.
And when did you both start with Cube?
The Commander Cube's like pretty old. Built it, I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe, because it was sometime after Commander Legends 1. We drafted that set like a million times. I don't know how many boxes we bought, but we drafted it every week for like half a year, I think. And it was sometime after that, I think, maybe 4 and a half
Yeah,
years when I built my first cube. And before that, I'd only had like passing glance experience, like, oh, I played a cube. It's like, that was fun.
Yeah, I basically had the same where it's like my friend had an Innistrad cube. We drafted that a few times and I thought that was really cool, but I never really experienced cube before I met Beezy and then we were just playing Commander Cube a lot. I think it's one of the more fun ways to play. And so because of Beezy's love for it, I've just been exposed to it just
Yeah.
tangentially. And I think it's been really awesome.
I think this Commander Cube might be the most fun that I have playing Magic. It's pretty awesome.
I think it's very close to like the Commander Masters format and stuff. So, and
Right.
I think that is one of my favorite ways to draft. And so this is also one of my favorite ways to draft. I think it's very tight. It's very awesome to be able to explore synergies within the cube and then make your own too.
I mean, we've also just had so many games, so much
Yeah.
testing, so much like data to where, oh, this card isn't fun. We'll just cut it. And now it's not in the format anymore. That's why I love Cube so much. It's like, oh, Strixhaven was a great set, but Witherbloom was pretty underpowered and Lorehold was terrible. It's like, well, what if that format just developed to where Lorehold and Witherbloom were also awesome? And then you just got to keep playing it. That would be amazing.
Yeah. I like the fact that you have complete control over it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like for me, it used to be that I would play a lot of standard, I would play a lot of modern or commander. And when I wasn't really feeling those formats as much anymore, I'll just play cube. But then I just kind of devolved into only playing cube at this point. So
Hey,
I
whatever
play
works.
standard
I
or
mean,
modern when I have to.
as long as you have fun with it, but in Cube, at least you have like complete control over the environment, right? Like that must be so much fun.
Yeah. I mean, I've tried every format at this point except Vintage, and Cube is the one I keep coming back to, and obviously Commander.
Absolutely. And what are some of your hobbies outside of Magic?
I do cosplay, I cook. We travel a fair amount, so we like to just check out new restaurants and stuff. Maybe that's a very basic answer. I guess my less basic answers are like cosplay and like makeup and cooking and stuff.
I play mobile games a little bit more than people probably think I do. And, every once in a while, I'll get hooked on like a Steam game, but honestly, I've played like Clash Royale for like 9 years.
That is true. You are what going on to your 12th year of your Clash of Clans
Yeah, it's
like
terrible.
clan.
Probably like the most casual gamer because I don't spend money on it anymore. I don't like play competitively. I just go, ooh, I'll collect some resources every day for 1,000 days.
1,000 is light. You've
1,000.
been doing it for like 10
It
years.
might be like 3,000.
You got to hit your dailies.
I gotta hit the dailies sometimes. Since Clash Royale came out, I don't do the dailies on both of them, but I'll do like maybe one of them.
Hey, that's more than I do.
Oh, and when Balatro came out, oh my God. You
Yeah.
got me hooked on Balatro like
Oh,
immediately.
it was so good though, and Balatro is coming out with a new patch soon, so you're gonna get right back hooked
Oh,
onto
big
it.
excited. Right now, Tarkir Dragonstorm is taking up a lot of my free time because that's amazing.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun to draft.
Absolutely a ton of cards that I've put into my cubes. It's such a
It's
great
so
set.
cube friendly. So cube friendly.
It really is. Because we popped a box and Beezy was like putting half of it aside. He's like, cube card. Ooh, cube card.
That's a cube card.
That's awesome. And yeah, today we are talking about your Commander Cube. And it's funny because on a previous episode, I had CJ Yeagle from Elder Dingus Highlander, one of my good friends from UConn. I don't know if you maybe saw him at UConn. And his Commander Cube was very different than the one we're going to be talking about today. His is you build a 100 card deck. It's like Power Max Plus, like it's playing banned cards, like balance, and you get to put like conspiracies in your sideboard. And
Wow.
it's like complete nonsense insanity. It's a lot of fun, but it's crazy. This Commander Cube, I would say, is much more typical. I would feel like it feels like it's what I would expect of a Commander Cube in the way that this feels like it's going to look like Commander gameplay. It looks like it's going to be like Commander Masters or Commander Legends, like you said. Tell me about this cube and why did you build it and what it looks like?
Yeah, I think one of my initial philosophies when building this was just like, what does my ideal Commander game look like? And then trying to sort of get to that goal. So as I was sort of like crafting that out, it's like, well, I really want combat to matter. I think that's more fun when killing someone comes at a cost. I want the cards to be relatively balanced. I think like Sol Ring has probably ruined more games of Commander than any other card, which I like to say a lot, but I think it's just straight up true. And so like I didn't really want that high variance type of stuff. So there's no like Necropotence, there's no Ristic Study, even though those cards like undoubtedly make you think of Commander. Ultimately, this format is better without them.
Yeah, it's more of a fun, close game. I don't think there are too many power outliers in the cube, or at least purposeful ones. When new stuff comes in, we just had to take out like Bristly Bill, who's too good.
Oh,
Dreamtide Whale,
yeah,
way too good.
terrible.
But I think it leads to like a very nice bracket 3 deck if you draft it well. And I guess you could dip into like bracket 2 and 1 power levels if you're drafting, if you're getting not great color wise and you keep getting blocked, or if you're just like don't know what you're doing, you're just taking random stuff. I think you have the option. But I think that because of this, it makes the cube a lot more balanced.
Yeah, this cube is highly synergistic. It has really 10 main archetypes divided among the different colors, like 2 color pairs. It's 666 normal cards, and then 100 commanders. You draft 3 packs of 20 cards, 2 picks per pack, and then you get a 60 card deck fitting your commander's color identity rules. How much was this based off of the Commander Legends or Commander Master sets?
So it wasn't based on Commander Masters at all because it hadn't come out yet.
Oh,
And so it's funny because we looked at Commander Legends and we were like, this was great. And we were like, well, what can we improve on? Because I think even though Commander Legends was a really great set, it's like pretty rough around the edges. There is a lot of, I don't know, just speak bluntly, just garbage in that set. Like you're really drafting the top 50% of cards every time. Like 3 green, green, 4/4 Vigilant Reach Spider. I don't understand what I'm supposed to do with that. That's not anything. It's barely even a card. It doesn't push you to anything. It doesn't get better or worse based on your previous picks. It's just there.
Yeah, very high highs and low lows.
It's just always low lows. There was a bunch of that. And so that was another inspiration. It's like, well, what if every time we saw one of those cards, it just never got played again and it got replaced with a super awesome or, very testable, exciting card.
Yeah, I think that this cube makes it that so you can be excited about every single card.
It was also the question of like, how do we imitate what Commander Legends did really, really well, which was make sure everybody had access to commanders and all this stuff. It's like, well, Commander Legends had 1 million partners in it. I don't want to just make the same format because if you go like, okay, well, we'll have 1 million partners, then you just take all the Commander Legends partners and you have the same skeleton. So we were like, well, what if we just give all monocolored commanders partner? That opens up a ton of interesting avenues and like weird stuff that you literally can't try anywhere else. And so we were super hyped on that. And then when Commander Masters came out, we had this joke of like, yeah, I guess that was a pretty good idea, huh?
They took it from somewhere.
Monocolored Legends have partner.
Interesting.
Interesting.
I wonder where they got this idea.
I don't have it confirmed, but if someone can confirm that for me, you'll be my best friend.
Call up Gavin.
Yeah, we'll call Gavin up.
And yeah, I have a Pauper Commander cube. I think that having the monocolor commanders have partner makes it so much more interesting because who wants to play a one color commander and commander draft? It doesn't really
there's
make
just
sense.
no reason to do that.
It's actually funny. Some people do, and they pick 2 monocolored as their partners and then just will draft an entire deck. But you have to go into it kind of thinking about that.
I've done that. It's fun to just be like, I'm going to go off the rails and take every white card.
Yeah.
And you can kind of end up. And part of the reason that we stuck to the Commander Legends draft format of 2 picks each time is it's really hard to not end up with a functional deck. You can basically force whatever and kind of be okay. You have to respect signals and draft seats a little, which it's still a draft. It's not just sealed, but like we've had some people get away with some serious nonsense. Or, like I'm playing 31 lands because I didn't get there on playables, but I got to play dragons and they still end up winning.
Beezy, remember that one time?
Yeah, well, you just built like Team of Dragons with like no dragons?
No, I hate drafted every single clone and I took Miriam as my commander and I still won.
Yeah.
You can build your own archetypes in here. I don't recommend it 100% of the time if you're getting like clear signals to do like Demir zombies, but you can. There are avenues around the 10 main archetypes.
Right. And then the other thing I think you also want to ask is like, how many colors do you want people to play on average? And I looked at a lot of cubes that were out there, and I'm not throwing shade at any of them, but most of the cubes that I saw, almost all of them, were like the number of colors you're playing on average is like 3.5. I got the sense of like, okay, all of these Abzan, Temur, 4-color Brea stuff is going around. Why would I ever play a 2-color commander? Even in these, why would I even do that? And then there's like 1-colors. It's like, I'm never going to play a 1-color. So it felt like strictly worse. And so I that's how we arrived at mainly you're going to draft 2. And then there's the 3-color commanders that I think we'll talk about later.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Like when I played Elder Dingus Highlander CJ's Commander Cube, it's filled with 3, 4, 5-color commanders, 2-color partners, and it really does basically end up everyone playing 3, 4, 5 colors. So that was a really interesting part of this cube design, that it's very focused on 2-color combinations. Like we have blue, white.
You're definitely building a deck. You're building a deck with a game plan, and it's not just take the best card out of every pack.
Yeah, it's synergistic, and it doesn't really make sense to hate draft most of the time in this. It'll just kind of hurt you and bite you in the end.
Hate drafting's never that good.
Yeah, but especially in here because it's like, oh, I could have been getting a playable or something. Sometimes it's hard to make playables. I will argue that.
Sometimes if your colors are not open,
sometimes it's hard to make playables.
You get punished a little, but you at least still get to play the deck you want.
Yeah. And for archetypes in here, we have blue, white blink. We got blue, black zombies, black, red madness, red, green dragons, green, white tokens, white, black life gain, green, black graveyard, +1/+1 counters and Simic, blue, red spell slinger, and then red, white artifacts. And looking at the commanders, yeah, they're almost all one or two color commanders, and there are a few three color commanders. How much overlap are there between archetypes? Do people end up sometimes like a green white life gain graveyard deck, or is it mostly people sticking to these archetypes?
Yeah, so when I initially built it, it was, we're gonna make 10 archetypes, and I'm a very particular person.
Yes,
So
that is
I
correct.
definitely like painstakingly love making sure that everything is even. So most of the support in every different lane should be about the same. A lot of the archetypes have changed over time. I think every red archetype except Spellslinger changed just because initially they were unsupported or not very fun. Rakdos Sacrifice, not a fun archetype in these four-player pods. It definitely did not promote the type of gameplay that we wanted. So that changed to Madness.
I'd say probably 70% of people stick to the archetype. 30% of people will stray, but I think you have to pick to stray pretty early or very, very late. Very late if you're not making playables or you can't find a commander or you want to pivot really bad. Like if you thought you had like a three color and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna get a three color and you only found two, you might have to pivot really quickly. Or if you go in the beginning, find like two very cool commanders you want to partner up and then find pieces for it. But
Yeah.
I'd say the vast majority of people will either do some sort of archetype related or three color ripcord with like a two color base with just a splash of the other color, but it sticks to a synergistic type.
I was surprised how many people have built something like totally weird that I would never have considered, like a white-black artifacts deck where they take half of the synergy from one with really good cards from the other one and they combine it, or like one of the mono black commanders is really cool with graveyard stuff and you're going to get back artifacts from the graveyard, so you get all the self mill from that. And there's a ton of those, way more than I thought. Since I'm so particular with building things, I've allotted like each archetype has X commanders that work for it, and then there must be 10 of each monocolored commander. Of those 10, there's two slots for each archetype. So there's two mono white artifacts commanders, there's two mono white tokens commanders, and then etc. And then there are two left over that are sort of like wild cards that ask you to do something a little bit weirder, a little off the wall. Like maybe you try to string together an equipment deck because there's a Godo, and that helps add a little bit of like variance. And then the three color commanders do wonders for variance of decks. People will build a three color commander and then not even play almost any of the archetypes. It's like, I'm just doing this thing. It's like, cool, dude.
Yeah, I think the three color commanders are. It's hard to find the perfect three color commander, but Tarkir Dragonstorm did wonders for that.
Yeah, it's true.
I really like how you designed the three color commanders in this cube. They all feel like one of the two color combinations plus an additional color added on if you're feeling spicy. Like, for example, we got Falco, Spara, Pact Weaver, my favorite Super Smash for this melee character. He's green white counters, but then you also get blue, or there's Jinny Fei, which is green white tokens plus a little bit of red. Tell me about how you picked these three color commanders and what was the design behind them.
You have it exactly right. I was impressed. I was like, oh, he knows this cube because that's exactly what I did. And I had to create a spreadsheet because I wanted everything to be exactly even. And this is one of the only iterations of possible commanders that exist that fill every single one of these archetypes. I think just recently there was a big level up because I had made a concession on one of them. I think Sidisi was standing in as like the zombies commander, and it like doesn't really care about zombies. It just makes zombies. With Dragonstorm, I got to switch something around. I think we switched the Abzan commander that like opened up a slot for like, I think Muldrotha's going to go in soon.
Yeah, you opened up from Kolfinor to Baitor.
Yeah, the pre-con Baitor because it cares about life gain.
Yeah, and it also cares about things in the graveyard, which is the green black.
Yeah, so it's like a very fragile house of cards that only works because I need everything to be even. But yeah, they all care about one two color archetype.
That's really cool. And what is the reason that you include so few three color commanders? Is it mostly because you want players to stick to these archetypes that you have developed, or you're afraid that decks will turn into just soup decks that ignore the synergies? Or tell me about why you don't have four color or five color commanders.
Funnily enough, this came from the initial version of this cube. Since we were happy to play around partner, it had the original partners in it. There was 15 of them, the two color partners. So you could partner a two color with any one color since they have partner, or you could partner a two with a two. And to me, it just was a completely different cube. Like everybody was on the same page of all these decks are feeling the same. Why would I ever pass Thrasios? Why would I ever pass even the bad ones? It was just you take them because they let you play more colors. So you're always playing three or four colors. and you just could take the best cards. It made all the decks blend together. And I think people felt less proud of their decks at the end. It's like, oh, I built this Blink deck, and because I took this over this, and I have this artifact and this card that's supposed to be in a different archetype, but it's actually good here too. You feel like better and more like rewarded for building them versus like, well, I'm just playing everything but red.
Yeah, I think it's easy to fall into five color good stuff. You know, if we threw Kenrith in here, I don't think there would be a reason to not pick him up and then play every good card you got in your pool. And I feel like we see that sometimes with three colors too. Usually they'll lean towards an archetype, but there are sometimes where you just mash all the good Abzan cards together because it's like, here's some ramp and removal, and it's just pretty easy to do that. So I feel like the more times you put in 4 and 5 colors, the more likely you're gonna have that happen. And I feel like it just takes away from some of the, I don't know, synergy, like the painstakingness that Beezy puts into the cube.
It's fine. I just think I'm really happy with where we're at right now, where like 10% of the commanders are three color. Because you could definitely just play three color good stuff. That's still a thing you can do, but that's the exception. And I think that could be a fun exception when the norm is you were trying to build a focus deck, see what's open, see if you can make something weird happen on, even though you're in red white, you might be playing equipments versus artifacts.
That makes a lot of sense. Like when I've played CJ's Commander Cube or other Commander Legends that has 5 color or something commanders in it, it does really feel like when you're forced to play 2 color, like in my Pauper Commander Cube, you really go into the synergies because you only have a subset of the cube that you're even allowed to play because you can only play within your commander's color identity. But when you are able to play 3, 4, 5 colors really consistently, it feels like the archetypes that you put in there, people start to disregard them and say, hey, these cards are powerful. I just feel like putting these cards together in a pile, and it could totally devolve away from what you originally intended. I totally agree that if you put in more 4 or 5 color commanders, it could feel like a totally different cube.
Yeah, I'm not even saying that that's the wrong way to go. I think it's just a different way to go, and it's just not what I prefer.
Yeah, I feel like it leans towards more high powered too, and I feel like the power discrepancy just kind of widens when you do something like that too.
Yeah, a lot of different players at different skill levels drafting this cube too. It's, so we have a little sub game we play during the draft is like who can draft the most on color lands. You just be the spiky is like, oh, I've got 11 duels plus MDFCs. And so we play that little game. Some people don't draft a single fixing land and they're just like red green dragons, baby. I'm not playing a lot of the cards I drafted. I don't care. The spikes get to spike and try to min max still, but I think the players who don't care about that, they're not going to feel stupid for passing some bomb or passing some dual land because you're supposed to take dual lands first.
Yeah, I feel like we do fall a little bit into the spike, but we love lands. We love eating our vegetables.
I mean, every time I draft this cube, I'm either trying out nonsense to see if it's even possible, some monocolored thing. I'm trying to like break it or do something bad.
I just try and draft the best one and win.
Also valid.
And speaking of fixing, I'm addicted to taking lands whenever I can. If I see a fetch land in a pack, I'm taking it. You can't stop me. If I have a Cogwork Librarian, I'm taking 2 fetch lands. But this cube only includes 9% fixing lands, 70 out of 766 cards. Is that because this cube mostly has people building 2 or 1 color commander decks with only 10 3-color commanders? Does the lower amount of fixing try to also push people away from always playing the 3-color commander provided with it?
There were more. Yeah, in the initial run, there were more. So this is kind of like responding to the data and the outcomes of the games and the feedback from all the different players we've had. I've slowly trimmed dual lands and stuff. There used to be like untapped duels, but then I sort of reached like, okay, if you have a dual land, it enters tapped. I think that's basically the rule of thumb. And there's like MDFCs, so some of the duels turn into MDFCs, so there's still like utility in the land slot. You can still mess around with that stuff. I think we wanted to nerf the 3-color decks just a little bit. Once we cut the 2-color partners, if things felt a lot better, but the 3-color commanders were pretty strong. I know Carador was in there, and that card was ridiculous. So we like nerfed and made all the 3-color commanders worse. So let's change the value of picks and such so that you don't just get infinite fixing for free. And it's always correct to take a 3-color commander. You have to actually give up good cards to get the fixing because there's not an infinite.
Yeah, I also think when it comes to lands, it should only be a smaller amount because it makes it a little bit more new player friendly. Just because I've made this joke a couple times where it's like, you're going from new to experienced player when you enjoy lands and you start being like, oh my God, I got a land, and not just like, why would I take a land? That's boring. But I think that with newer players, if the cube is like 30% lands, looks a little boring, man. I'm just saying.
No, that's actually a very real where they're just like, why are there 6 lands in this pack? And then, if you're always taking lands, your main deck slots can get stressed a little bit. That's a whole different thing probably, but yeah, it definitely helps sort of like encourage people. It's like you're probably building a 2-color deck. You can go crazy if you want, but you're gonna need to pick up a 3-color commander almost before you decide to start taking every fixing land.
Yeah, it's more just like a better hope you get one if you were stuck between two decks rather than I am planning on getting one.
Yeah,
Because they're not even in the circulation sometimes.
I would say out of 8 drafters, how many do you think go 3 colors? 2?
I think maybe two, but I think that it is very easy to go for a 3-color if you are already in the 2-color to begin with. Because if you are a more experienced drafter, you're already picking up those fixing lands, and then you're probably splashing the 3rd color. You throw in a couple basics, and then you're picking up as you go, especially with 2 picks per pack.
Yeah, I think a lot of what this comes down to is what do you want to draft? Because you can easily just take a 3-color commander, force it, end up with a pretty sweet deck. Doesn't really matter. There's no way you could get pushed out of a 3-color archetype in this format. Or you can get one late and you're like, oh, I'm already black-white. Here's a Mardu commander. Sure, I want to play it because I have XYZ stuff. That's probably the 2 ways that comes up the most.
That's basically how I play. I'll start building a 2-color deck, and I will take every 3-color commander I see that falls into 2 colors plus whatever. And then if I can't make playables, or if that commander is better than what I found, I'll slot it in.
But I think what helps is that there's not any crazy power outliers. It's not like, oh my God, name the 3, whatever the best 3-color commander in Magic is. Like, I have to take this. Like, I'm going to win the draft now. It's like the power band, very narrow.
You're very proud of that. I appreciate how narrow the power band is.
Yeah, that's a really interesting sentiment what you were just saying about lands and new player versus experienced player. I've had so many friends get into Commander and they buy a precon and I tell them, all right, the first thing you should do is the land base is not going to be very good. This was especially true like 5 years ago when it was like awful and like Guild Gates and stuff. And they would be like, I don't want to put in fixing lands. This is lame. Why would I spend $20 on a shock land or whatever? This is stupid. And I feel like compared to my play group where we cube every week, and the conversation during the draft is always like, Kyle, are you taking all the fetch lands again? I need the fetch lands. What are you doing to me?
Yeah, I think honestly playing in the Boston Cube Party helped give me a new perspective on just cubes in general, because there was a couple of cubes that I played where I was like, what a crazy concept. This cube looks really interesting. And then I open the pack and it's like, yeah, I should probably take the fetch land. And then I get past the trial and it's like, well, I'm not going to pass that. And then my mana is perfect. And I just end up like 4-color nonsense.
Yeah.
And that's not my favorite thing to do. I think a lot of cubes can feel samey.
Yeah, I feel like if you get past really good lands, it sculpts the deck for you. And so you're forced into an archetype before you even start building one.
Yeah, this cube is definitely spells first. You can ignore lands if you want to.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love trying to min-max. So
yeah, I love picking lands, but I will not pick lands first. I'll pick it second.
Yeah, I feel like cubes that have a lot of lands sometimes can have a different texture. I've definitely noticed that. Like, for example, like you said, if I get a Scalding Tarn and then I get a Jetmir's Garden and I'm like 4-color stuff, all of a sudden I just start seeing like, oh, there's a Fallen Shinobi in the pack. I'm already 4 colors. I might as well splash black for it. I don't know. And
yeah, then I can never tell you what archetype I'm in at the end. It's always like, I just took all the best cards and I have 2 cards in my sideboard.
Yeah, I am good cards. That's my archetype.
Yeah, I'm gonna play Uro and then like some Rakdos thing on the next turn.
Yeah. And one of my favorite series on your YouTube channel is when you talk about like unique commanders or unique cards to add to commander decks. Tell me about how much of this cube is about trying to cater to a lot of commander players or Magic player in general saying, I don't want to read new cards. I've definitely experienced that in my cube playing where people say, you're crazy if you think I'm going to read this card with 10 lines of text. Where's Tarmogoyf? How much of this cube is about putting in familiar cards versus cards that might be really interesting for the archetypes you're trying to support, but people might not read them?
I think we've gone with a philosophy now that Mia's on too of just mostly putting in what is the best card that makes this archetype the most interesting. I don't know if we've gotten a ton of complaints about wordiness.
I mean, we haven't put in a lot of the cards that are most commander. As we mentioned earlier, we're not putting in Soul Ring or Rhystic Study. The top commanders on, EDH Rec, I don't think we have most of them in there. The only one we might have is like Wilhelt or something like that. The rest of them aren't synergistic to the archetypes, and so we're not doing that. We're not putting in Shaft from 93 either, though, because that's not good in the commander format to begin with, and that really increases the power outliers. But like, overall, I think it's just what will make combat matter, what will make this archetype better, and then balancing if we see any like real outliers. Like we had Yorion at one point. Too good, too
It was
good.
like secretly broken for a really long time. It made it
Yeah.
years, and we were like, "Oh, this thing sucks.
Yeah, it
This
was
is
too good.
awful." Yeah, that was definitely one that like flew under the radar for a while. Everyone was always playing it, and we still just never found out until one day when you brought it up. It
Yeah.
made a lot of sense.
Would people companion it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we allowed it. People companioned it a fair bit.
It was the only companion in
I
there.
think honestly, what helped me see the light with it was just as a commander. It was just dumb. You just compare it with like a flicker wisp, and you just dominate the game.
It was way too good.
Yeah.
Well, that's speaking my language. One of my favorite commander decks ever is Brago, and I actually had a Yorion commander deck, and you would just have Yorion plus Restoration Angel, and then
Yep.
you would blink Lavinia the 10th every turn, and your opponents were detained for the whole game, and they
Oh,
wanted to.
Lavinia was in here, and she also was not very fun.
Yeah, they were like soft locked if you put Yorion in, but Beezy options were either getting rid of Yorion or getting rid of all these other blink cards, which aren't that good. So it's like, why would we remove an entire archetype when we could just, get Yorion out of here?
And another question that I have for you is a big thing that's really being spoken a lot now in the past couple years in the cube community is aesthetics when it comes to cube. Like, for example, when we were talking about the neoclassical cube on a previous episode, it was a lot about, oh, I'm trying to get the aesthetic of old border magic. Is there anything that you aesthetically did not want to include in this cube? Like, for example, certain parts of Commander that you are not really a fan of, and you said, I want this cube to segregate away from that? Or there were parts of Commander that you wish were more popular? Like when I had CJ on, he was really excited about having a lot of stacks pieces because he said, I wish stacks was normalized in Commander. Tell me about, are there any aesthetic or cards that you put in here because you said, I wish people played this, even though it might be against the social contract?
We're trying out a few things that people might not like. There are Monarch cards in here, and there are Initiative cards in here. So we are trying out a few things. I don't think we have any restrictions as far as like cards themselves. It's more of a philosophy of like, here's what I think makes a great game of Commander. So, we're not going to include any things that like grind games to a halt, partially just due to practicality of like, I'd rather draft twice than play one where somebody's got a stacks deck and everybody else is just waiting around for them. Some stuff like that to sort of like guide the process. These ridiculous power outliers where you feel dumb passing them, we didn't really want those. Cards that won the game by themselves. There are no infinite combos that are possible in the cube. We had to comb through, and sometimes we had people feedback like, actually, these 4 cards go infinite. I'm like, well, then one of them's coming out because I don't care. I just want that to not be a possibility that you have to worry about.
Yeah, I think we want to be considerate of people's times. There's not too much board wipe presence in here either. So
Little.
there's a little bit, but I'm not saying you can't wipe the board like 6 times and be
Yeah, we're
stuck
shooting
at
for like
this.
1 to 2 a game.
Yeah, we want to make sure that games end within, I'd say, an hour, maybe a little over an hour, but we're not looking for like 2 to 3 hour games unless everyone's just like kind of drafted decks where it's like mostly lands, land, go,
Yeah, I actually will say there's a couple things that we don't include just like almost as a hard fast rule. And that is like mill that can target opponents because games can get really grindy, and I don't want that to have to be something that people die to mill. This feels like it's not in the spirit of what this is. Also, we're sort of trying to temper the life gain a little bit. We don't want it to get out of hand where one player's at like 70 and it just takes forever to kill them. So that's been interesting. And then gotcha cards. Don't really have any gotcha cards. There's a few that are like on theme, like an Eerie Interlude. I think that's in here for the Blink deck. That's a blowout in response to a board wipe. But we had Arachnogenesis in here. It's not even a good fog. It's okay. It's definitely a swingy card. But I think what we realized with that pretty quickly was you either have to do like 10 gotchas where there's going to be 1 gotcha per game, or you have to do 0 because when there was 1, everybody knew who drafted my cube that there's 1. And so as soon as I heard someone go, do you have Arachnogenesis? I was like, okay, we have to cut that. Like that is not what we're trying to do. We are not trying to guess the cards that people have in their hand that could totally turn the game upside down.
Yeah, I think gotchas overall, we don't like playing them to begin with. And so when you are putting in gotchas, I feel like there's a couple that are, like Arachnogenesis at that mana value, and then it gets like worse and worse. You're going to like Ink Shield, you're going to like the 5 and 6 mana. It's like, I don't know. At that point, we want to be putting like game enders or very big splashy spells and not these gotcha type effects.
Yeah, at least for me, a lot of this stuff felt like pitfalls that we either learned of the hard way and then steered clear of, or just completely avoided from the beginning, just to help stay true to our vision of what these games should look like.
And would you say that you wish that Commander looked a little bit more like this cube?
Not necessarily. I think gotchas are cool. I think gotchas, just at least for this cube, were not very practical. I think it's very unfriendly to new players to have like, this subset of 2 or 3 cards that you have to play around that you might know. It was just very similar with free spells. I ended up cutting a lot of the free spells in here because me and some of my buddies would just like, okay, there's one free counter spell in the whole cube. It's foil. I have it in my sideboard, so I know that I don't have to play around it. I don't like that. So there's some convoke cards, sure, but there's not any like straight up solitude, free stuff. And I think that was another thing. It's just we slowly developed this type of commander game over time, partially due to practicality for time restraints and for like minimized field beds.
Yeah, I also think when you walk into a commander game, you know what you're getting into because you're talking with the other players. It's not like we're requiring everyone to play this to read the primer. That's very, very long, and I would not recommend it unless you really want to get to know the cube. But because of that, I think it's unrealistic to have all of these pitfalls and expectations for people who just walk in. I think everything should be kind of balanced at that point.
Yeah, a lot of the heavy lifting is done on our end so that you don't have to worry about it because we've already had all these field bats happen. When someone's playing the green black deck and they die to milling themselves when no one even attacked them the whole game, like that sucks. And you don't feel like you did the thing that you were supposed to do. So now that is so much less likely.
Yeah, it's like we figured it out in the building phase so that you can try and draft your best whenever you get the cards, and that entire problem doesn't have to be worried about because we're already figuring out behind the scenes.
Yeah, a lot of times we've done the preambles before where we're like, here's all the rules. And I've had like, here's a sheet with all the archetypes and what they are. But then we've also just done, here's the rules, let's just go. And they're like, what's the archetypes? I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Don't worry about it.
Figure it out. And then everyone still has fun. It's worked both ways.
Yeah, we'll just jump in and go, and you'll have a fun time.
Like, seriously, the cube will drive itself. If you play 2 colors, your deck's going to do something pretty much no matter what.
Very cool. And another series on your channel that I think is really fun is the Is It Worth It to Buy, or cards that are cheap right now, are they worth their price? Did you try and have a budget be a factor in the design of this cube, or was it more, I'm going to throw in what I want and I don't really care about price? Or tell me how much about this cube budget played a factor in it.
I don't think budget plays much of a factor at all. I think just coincidentally, there are not a ton of like really, really expensive cards because some of them end up being power outliers. Like you're not going to find Rhystic Study Dockside when it was legal. There's no fast mana. I think a lot of those really expensive cards just sort of like disqualify themselves because they don't tend to like support the type of games. A lot of them are power outliers. A lot of them can drag the game out. A lot of them have no synergy whatsoever, and you just pick them all the time, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think they're expensive because they're power outliers, and that's why everyone wants them. But because of that, in essence, it doesn't work for our cube. I think some of the most expensive ones are the treatments. We have a lot of expensive treatments just due to the fact that we're collectors, and the fact that some of them are universes beyond, and those are hard to get a hand on sometimes.
Yeah, I would say some of the most expensive stuff we have in is we have all 10 fetches. That might be on the upper end. I love the interaction if you really want to get spiky with it. The fetch lands plus the typed dual lands. So if you're playing 3, you really can do the pick a fetch land first because I have Sidisi or Muldrotha or whatever. I can take fetch lands really highly and you can play that game. You can play the vintage cube game of fetching for stuff, but I think the lands are the most expensive. There's not a ton. I even tried something like Overlord of the Baelmerk was in here, and that was like a $30 card. And I just cut it because it was just too good.
Yeah.
Just should have just taken it all the time.
I feel like when it comes to the cube, things get expensive on us. Like we'll buy it cheaper because we think it's good for the cube, and then it'll go up. Like Bristly Bill, we bought Bristly Bill at $20 because we thought it would be good for the +1 counters and the landfall side of this. And turns out it just went to 40 when we weren't looking. So
yeah, and then landfall doesn't even exist anymore. So
yeah.
The Bristly Bill, goodbye. Reeve Titan is, I think, the perfect power level for this. It shot up to $40, but we kept it in because it's right at the level we want.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about having like a mid to lower power cube is the expensive cards are expensive because they're good. So if your cube lies within that lower to mid power space, often your cube doesn't include the expensive cards, which is nice.
Yeah, there's no aversion to them. It's just that every once in a while, something lines up and we get to play like a $30 card that isn't that strong.
Yeah. And how about we jump into a pack 1, pick 2 from the cube here? I'll read off the pack. We have Undertaker, which is 1 and a black for a 1/1. You can discard a card to return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. It's like a tortured existence, not a creature. We have Ravenous Gigantotherium. I think I said that right.
Very wordy card, by the way.
Yeah. Which is 5 green, 3/3 devour 3, and it enters, it deals X damage, divide as you choose, and make any number of creatures where X is its power, and each of those creatures deal damage equal to Ravenous Gigantotherium. Trumpeting Carnosaur, 4 red red, 7/6, discovers 5 when it enters with trample, and you can discard it to deal 3 to a creature planeswalker. Knights of the Black Rose, 3 white black for a 4/4. When it enters, you become the monarch, and whenever an opponent becomes the monarch, if you were the monarch, they lose 2 and you gain 2. Seagate Restoration, which is MDFC, 4 blue, blue, blue. You draw cards equal number of cards in your hand, +1, and you have no max hand size for the rest of the game. And it's a land that you can enter untapped if you pay 3. Party Thrasher, 1 red, 1/4. Non-creature spells you cast from exile have Convoke. Beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you can discard a card and exile the top 2, and you can play them. And then we have Of One Mind, 2 and a blue, draw 2, and it costs 2 less if you have a non-human and a human. Then we have Anji's Ravagers, 2 and a red, 3/3. Attacks each combat if able. And when it attacks, discard your hand and draw 3 and 1 a red madness. Ozolith the Shattered Spire, 1 a green, legendary artifact. If one or more 1/1 counters are put on an artifact or creature control, that many +1 are put on. You can also put a 1/1 counter on target artifact or creature by paying 1 a green. Star Compass, which is a mana rock, enters tapped. You can add a mana that a basic land you control can produce, and it costs 2. Lunarch Veteran, 1/1 for white. Whenever another creature enters, you gain 1 as Disturb enters on the other side. Faithless Looting, red, for draw 2, discard 2, flashback 2 in red. Otawara Soaring City, blue channel land that can return something to its owner's hand if you pay 4, and it costs less for equal number of legends. Embercleave, 4 red red, flash, costs 1 less for each attacking creature you control, and you can attach it when it enters and gives the creature double strike +1/+1 for a strike trample. Descend Upon the Sinful, 4 white white, exile creatures, and you have Delirium, you get a 4/4 angel. Inti, 1 red, 2/2. Whenever you attack, you can discard a card, put a 1/1 counter on target attacking creature, and it gains trample. And whenever you discard a card, you impulse draw the top card. So Kenzen, which is also a legendary land, like Otawara, add a red, or you can channel it to get 2 1/1s. Tireless Tracker, whenever a land enters and you control Investigate, 3/2, 2 and a green. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, put a counter on it. Lannis, Genetics Expert, 1 hybrid blue-green, evolve 1/2. And whenever a counter is put on it, investigate that many times. And when you sack a clue, put a 1/1 counter on target creature control. And then Elixir Immortality, 1 colorless. You can tap it, gain 2 life. You can shuffle Elixir Immortality and your graveyard into your library. Ooh, that was a lot of cards.
Yeah,
many
props,
card
'cause
packs.
we don't stray away from wordiness, and so a lot of those cards just have like 9 lines of text on them.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think about this pack.
I think this is a very medium pack. Nothing really stands out to me, but then that's where I love it because you can kind of just pick your favorite stuff. And there are definitely spiky ways to take this pack. I think probably the spikiest pick 1 and 2 of this pack is Otawara and Seagate Restoration, or some combination of those and maybe Star Compass. You could definitely go that way if you're trying to just be open.
Mine probably would be Star Compass and Otawara.
Oh, seriously?
Yes, genuinely.
Well, you did say you were trying to win. I think that's definitely one way you could go. You could maybe pick an archetype and say, oh, let's see about this. Like you could go Inti, because that's like half of your Madness Rakdos stuff, and you could take Undertaker, which is a pretty strong card. What would I do if I just open this right now? I would want to try something a little silly, a little maybe on the silly side. So what would I take? I do love Tireless Tracker.
Yeah. I think my top 4 would be somewhere between Star Compass, Otawara, Seagate, and then Tireless Tracker. I think Star Compass keeps you very open, and Otawara is the most playable out of all those because there's no guarantee you get to 7 mana and then also want to spend it on Seagate, you know?
Rakdos is one of the archetypes I've been paying attention to and trying to make sure that it works, because in the past people have been milled out by it because you're constantly rummaging and stuff, and then they go, well, I can't win. So I would probably start out with Undertaker Inti, and then I would check in on Rakdos with this draft, see if it's okay.
Some people draft this a different way and they want to take commanders first and then build around them. So
Also valid, yeah.
there always is the option that you just take Lannis and Inti in here and then just see if any of those colors are open too.
Or Lannis and Ozolith would also be pretty strong
that
start.
that is a good start.
I like that, like, this is probably a good example of a pack where there's no crazy power outlier. You don't feel pressure to take something. And I don't think all the cards are, exactly evenly good. Some of these are more likely to table than others. So, I think there's probably some danger to come with having too narrow of a power band where it feels like every card is the same.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit, there's high-end stuff, there's low-end stuff. Hopefully we've reached a good balance. I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah, I mean, this pack is pretty spicy to me. There's a few different picks I'm looking at, like Lannis, like you said, Lannis and Ozolith. That sounds super fun. I mean, blue-green counters is such a fun deck. Then you put extra counters on your stuff with Ozolith, and you can put more counters, which lets you investigate even more times. That sounds really good. Or Tireless Tracker is awesome.
I mean, you can
Also,
make a really good case for, Star Compass Embercleave. Embercleave's going to go in any red deck but you're kind of like, ooh, I'm taking a jump start on like the artifacts archetype.
Yeah, I just play it safe for the first pack or so, take some ramp and removal, and I keep my colors kind of open. But that also leads me to playing Golgari plus a
You
lot.
play Golgari so much.
You take ramp and removal in here, and you usually end up in Golgari.
Yeah. I'm also looking like NT and Faithless looting. That looks good. Just go red and kill some people.
That's hot too. Red is always underdrafted in any format of my friend group. I don't know why, but they just don't like it. So you might be doing well with red. That's a meta call.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I'm on Lannis Ozzy, but this is a cool pack. Let us know in the comments what you would take. Definitely. Thank you both for coming on. It's been great having you both on, Mia and Beezy. And anything you want to say before we wrap up here? And definitely go check out Nitpicking Nerds on YouTube, the socials.
It's fun to put all this work in and sort of build this puzzle and then have other people experience it and sort of go like, yeah, this was the experience I was looking for. This is great. I'm very surprised even now the number of people I know in real life, like friends, that have just come up to me and said like, yeah, I cloned your cube. I mean, the number of clone notifications I get on Cube Cover is surprisingly high. Or they go like, hey, Beezy, you want to draft? And we go like, sure. Like, I built your exact cube. Let's draft it right now.
Well, I know how this works then.
Yeah,
So.
okay. I guess you did build an exact copy of my cube in paper with no proxies. So that stuff is really fun. It's constantly evolving. I think it's only ever getting better and more fun.
Yeah, I guess to everyone at home, try a cube.
Try cubes. Cubes are great. And I think even just like looking at this opening pack, there's so many different pitfalls that we avoided, you know? Like, I won't even get into why we don't play Soul Wardens and we play Lunarch Veteran instead. Like, that's just a whole separate thing. It's a different podcast, the pitfalls.
Oh, yeah. We could do a whole nother episode, I bet.
Oh, I'm sure. I can yap for days about anything, but Cube is even more so.
That is true.
Yes. And thanks again so much for coming on. And everyone, please like, subscribe, follow, all that fun stuff, and stay tuned for more Cube reviews next week. And of course, go check out Nitpicking Nerds. I've been watching them, like I said, for years and years. So it's been super great having you both on. And I hope you all have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Bye, everyone.